computer number 2. So this is my second of my 2 computer hurricane build session. Obviously the hurricane already passed through. We're still getting a little bit of clouds in the sky, but nothing really major. It's mostly been sunny all day. But I can't stop. I promised I was going to build 2 computers. I'm going to build 2 computers. So second build, it's going to be an identical case, this Cooler Master half case. This one has an actual optical drive in it, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the parts and get started. So here are all the parts for the build. All the parts here are spread out on my workstation right here. I'll go ahead and go over everything, starting with the half case, which this is a repeat case from the last build. I got 2 of these. So this is the exact same thing as the other one, only this one has a little optical drive in the front. So that'll be a nice bonus for whoever gets it. Motherboard is a different motherboard. You have this Intel board that actually got pulled from an ATM of all places. Surprise, surprise, ATMs are basically computers. The processor in here is an i5-3470S. It's a lower powered version of the 3470, so it's going to be a little bit slower. Yeah, 16 gigabytes of RAM right here. As you can see, it's all standard pin layout. I've already messed with the BIOS in this computer, so it should work straight out of the box, straight into the case, into the computer. It should work just fine. Right here we have a power supply. This is a pretty low power board. As you can see, it only has a 4-pin connector, and then it has your 24-pin right here. So for a power supply, we're actually going to use this. This is a power supply that I pulled from a pre-built system. This is I believe I pulled this from a Lenovo system. It's an AC Bell system. Very low power, only has 18 amps on the 12-volt line, but for this low power build, it's going to work great. I have some extension cables just in case I need it for the case, which I think I will for this power supply. For a graphics card, I'm going to be using this. This is a Zotac GTX 1650 graphics card. Does not require any additional power to it. Modern architecture graphics card. You have your DVI, HDMI, and DisplayPort out. This should pair very well with this low power processor to give you a good frames per second on those eSport titles. And of course, I'm using a 120 gigabyte hard SSD as a boot drive, and I'm using this refurbished 500 gigabyte Western Digital hard drive that I picked up from Micro Center a few weeks back. So here are all the parts, and let's get this build started. So here's the second computer. I've been benchmarking it over the past couple of days, and I'm just now putting everything together for the video. Putting it together was very similar to the previous build. I still had to cut out a piece of the plastic casing on the top fan, but that wasn't too much trouble. I also had to get an extension cable for the front fan right up here so that it could actually reach the motherboard header. So that was a little bit of additional cost as well. I'll go ahead and put the price list up on the screen. Total price for everything came out to around $258. I'm planning on selling the system for around $400. Now, some of the key differences between this system and the other system I built in last video is that the i5-3470S versus the i4-3470 actually has a lower base clock of only 2.9 gigahertz versus the 3.2 gigahertz and the 3470. But the boost speeds for both processors are actually identical. Another key difference is that the motherboard on this computer that I built just now only requires a 4-pin supplemental power connector versus the 8-pin power connector in the other build. So that allowed me to use a power supply that I pulled from an old OEM system to run this machine. In addition, the graphics card on this machine is a low power graphics card. It's a GTX 1650, which actually gave me slightly better performance in a lot of games, but I also noticed that some of the 1% lows and 0.1% lows were slightly lower on this machine versus the GTX 960. Performance was pretty close between both machines, and that's one of the main reasons why I decided to price them at the same price. Now, despite this machine having slightly better performance, I decided to price it at the same as the other machine because of the power limitations in this machine versus the previous builds, specifically the power supply. Now, that doesn't mean you can't buy this machine later on, upgrade the power supply. That's really not that big of a deal. Everything's pretty more standard connectors, so upgrading the power supply in this unit is not going to be that big of a hassle. So I decided to calculate the power supply difference between this machine and the other machine and weighed against the performance difference when calculating the price. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like it and leave a comment below. And go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more build videos in the future. I may make some changes in how I edit these videos to give a more comprehensive view of the things I have to do to get these machines working. I've just been doing a time-lapse video showing, but I think that highlighting some of the individual things that I do to these machines may be more informative for potential buyers and for people on the internet. Until next time.